Okay, so what we're going to do here is get a score up on the screen and probably a U1 script as well, or a U1 sign as well. So what we're going to do is add something new that we haven't done so far, and I'm going to add a new game object, come up here, and under UI, standing for user interface, we're going to bring in some text, okay? Just for some basic text. So it brings it in, and actually a bunch of stuff shows up. One thing is a canvas and then text. So let's just change the name of this text and call it ScoreText, because we're going to put our score on it. Now, what we want to do is put our score up in this top left side here. So making sure that you've clicked on ScoreText. At the moment, we says new script. Let me just sort of zoom out here. It's unusual that we can't see anything here. Usually it would show up here. Let's just try changing this and making it a little bit bigger. I'm going to set this font size to about 24. And I'm just going to set its position. I think that's the reason here. It's off to the side. I'm going to click on this guy. Okay. And I'm going to set its position to the top left. So as it says here, hit Shift and Alt. So Shift and Alt. And then do the top left right here and click on that. And there's my new text, okay? It's been put up there. It just seemed to be way off on mine. Yours might have shown up in the middle. Okay, but anyways, top left is where we're putting it. Now it's a little bit tight to the top left here. So what I'm just going to do is shift it over a little bit. So just move over in the X and shift it a little bit on the Y. You can just see that it came down here. Okay, now just to let us know what that text is, I'm going to call it score. Oops, caps lock is on, ScoreText. Now, you can change up the color or do whatever you want. I'm going to be plain here and just set it like that. Now, what we'll do is actually now try to change it, because at the moment, it's not going to change. It's going to say ScoreText the whole game. So if I hit play here, it doesn't magically, update the score, okay? It just sits there. So obviously not perfect, but at least we've got text on the screen. So what we're going to do is go back to our script. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have to set the score when, when you hit something. So it obviously makes sense that somewhere in here, right, in our on trigger enter, if we set it to false, well, another thing we should do is add one to the score. But we got to create a few variables first, because obviously you've got to have, a score. So what I'm going to do is come up to the top. So up to the top here, and we're going to put in some new variables right up here. But before I do that, this is sometimes people forget, is you actually have to bring in another library. So I mentioned that right at the beginning. We have the Unity Engine library. There's a bunch of stuff here. You'll see AI, analytics, animations, Apple. The one that we want, okay, is the UI one. So it's alphabetical here. I got typed it in, UI. Okay, so the UI, what it will do is obviously give you access to some of the user interface things, and one of them is the text. So right in here, we're going to create a couple of new variables, and we might as well do both at once here. First of all, I'm going to go public text, so capital T on that text, and we'll call this one count text. I call it ScoreText there. That's fine. Either way, maybe I'll be consistent here. Sorry. Let's make that ScoreText. Okay. We're going to create another one because we'll need it in a little bit. Public text, and we'll call this WinText. Okay. So just my variable names sort of match up with what they are, and putting the text in there just helps us remember. Another thing that we're going to have to hold on to, and we'll make this one private because we don't really need to change it ourselves, and we'll make it an int, an integer, because it's not going to have decimals, and we'll call this the count, or the score. Let's just keep that consistent. Okay, so we'll call that the score. So 3 new variables: public text, ScoreText, to hold the score text or reference the score text, public text WinText to reference the WinText, and private int score to hold the value here. So a good question is, at the start of the game, what should our value of our score be? Well, probably we should make sure it's set to 0. Okay. probably come back to this in a second because you'll see a little bit of a problem, but we'll fix that there. Now, down here, what we're going to do is basically when you score, okay, we're going to, and this will make more sense in a second, we're going to set the score text. And you might be saying, Mr. Fleming, it's turned red there. There's an issue. And there is a big issue, okay? There's nothing called set score text. So what this is doing is saying, hey, if you've hit the pickup, run the set score text function. We don't have a function called set score text, but we can make one up. So what I'm going to do is right below this on trigger enter, so that's the ending bracket there. So again, between the last two brackets, I'm going to create my own function. This one I could have called anything I wanted. Okay, I'm going to call it set score text because that makes more sense. And when we score something, okay, when we pick something up, it's going to run this function. And what it's going to do is going to set the score text that we defined before. It's going to set it to something different. And so what it's going to do is set it to say, this is what's called a string, so it's just text on the screen, count, and then we're going to put a space in there, and then plus, well, we have to add that score. And I'm going to put to string. So what this will do is it will print on the screen when the score text gets called, it will print on the screen count, and then in addition to that text there, it will put in the number. Okay, and then, yeah, so we'll leave that there actually and see how this works. So I just close it up. Notice now, because we've defined this function, then this is no longer red. Now, if I change the name, okay, don't do this, but you can see right away it has a problem. But as long as the two matched up, say I didn't like an O in there for some reason, it doesn't care. Okay, so in this case, this is a function we created. It's going to only be called when we run into something. So it doesn't really matter the name. But again, anything that's more clear than something that isn't clear is better. So I'm going to run this and see what happens here. So when I hit play, there's an error. Cannot convert string to Unity text. What did I do? Score.toString. Okay, so this is the first time I've really had a problem. Let's see. Cannot implicitly convert string to Unity. What did I do? So what I do is if I got a problem, I can just click on it. That will take me right there. ScoreText is equal to count.score.toString. So that looks okay to me. My problem. So what I want to do, is ScoreText.text. So what it's doing is it's accessing the text box in ScoreText, and I'll show you that. My bad. Okay, so make sure you put the ScoreText.text. So let me go back to Unity and explain my little faux pas. Okay, and there's some problems here too. We will fix this up in a second. What happened there is the ScoreText has a box called text, right? Which we changed to ScoreText there. I just needed to access it. So the ScoreText game object, the actual text box of it, we're going to change. So if I hit play here now, maybe just move this out of the way. I'm going to get a problem. Okay. First of all, it still says ScoreText, which isn't the best. And I do that. It gives me an object reference not sent to an instance. We saw that before. And the issue is, if you go back to the player, because that's where the script was, you'll notice that ScoreText doesn't know where to put it. So it says none here. Well, all we have to do is grab this ScoreText that's in our game, drag it, just like we did the player on the camera, and drag it in there. Now, we don't have the win text yet. It shouldn't cause a problem because it's not actually going to be called. So now, I still have got that problem there without the ScoreText, but let's just see if anything happens. Oh, count 0. Well, it's working better, but I don't seem to be getting a count. Any ideas? So if I look back here, what could be the problem? Well, there's obviously one problem right here. We never increased the value of the count. So what I'm going to do, before I set the score, right, because this runs sequentially, so we're going to set it to false. What I have to do is set, the score. I got to set that to one more. So I'm taking whatever the score was and adding 1 to it and resetting the score. So this means if the score was 0 plus 1, now the score is 1. If the score was 1, it's going to be 1 plus 1 to give us 2. That should solve the problem. So let's just see. Okay, so I get 1. Okay, it's going up 3, 4, 5. I'm going to see how many I got here. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Good. So I got 12 of them. Now, if I finish the game here, it'd be nice to say, hey, you won something, right? Or you won the game. So let's put that in. So I'm going to go back and get it so that when we get over, well, we get 12, right? We're going to say, hey, you won. So down here, inside of this if, I'm basically going to put in another if the score is greater than or equal to 12, and usually we put that in, then we're going to change the win text. So I think we created that win text.text, and we're going to set that to you win. Put a few exclamation marks there. All right, now let's just make sure I close this up. So that closes that. That closes that. So whatever happens, whenever you score a point, it's always going to make sure that the score at what it is, and if it's greater than or equal to 12, it's going to say you win. Now I got a little bit of an issue there. I didn't need to put that in a bracket. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to set this, save. Okay, we're okay. We might have to do one more video here. We're going to run out of time. Let's just go back to Unity. See if I can get 12. Now that one problem too is it says ScoreText here at the start. I got to fix that up somehow. But let's just see if we can. Oh, before I do that, what did Mr. Fleming forget? You're right. I did not create a win text yet. So let's create a win text first. Okay, so I'm going to put UI text. So it goes in here. Great to call it just win text. Okay, I'm going to make sure it's set to the center. So this time I'm going to click on here, Shift, Alt, Shift, right in the center. So there it pops up, new text. Again, a little small for my taste, so I'm going to make that a little bit bigger, 24 maybe. There. Okay, so that's the win text. Let's see if this pops up. Now it says new text and score text. Well, we'll fix that up in the next video. So now as I play here, well, the count's going up. What I want to make sure is that it at least says you win. I need one victory here. Come on, Mr. Fleming. Almost there. Almost there. Still doesn't. Oh, right. I got that error. Okay, let's end this video here. I'm just having some bad luck, and we'll fix all this stuff in the next video.